Let's give it up for Tony Robbins.
How y'all doing? Nice to see you all. Nice to see you, Jerry, Louise, Ruedita. Let's shake the building with some energy. Wake it up, everyone on your chair. Come on, you can do it. Get that energy going. There you go. Nice to see you all. Yes. Well, if you're feeling good, make a little fist, say yes. I know you're out there, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, it's a pleasure to be with you. We have, I guess, approaching 1 million people, 900,000 people from over 100 countries. Will you give a hand to everybody who's joined us here from their homes around the world? Fantastic. And before I say anything else, I just want to acknowledge Dean. You know, 48 years ago, when I really didn't have a clear idea of what direction I was going to go with my life, and I was frustrated and about 38 pounds heavier than I am now and feeling sorry for myself, I never dreamed that I'd be able to have the privilege to talk to all of you like this or do half the things I'm doing today. It would seem impossible. But it's amazing what little step at a time can do. And Dean is such a, I just want you to know how much he cares about you. I think I've been able to do this for 48 years and reached over 1 billion people, starting from nothing, because I really love people. I want to over-deliver. And this week here, we're here to really give you an experience of what's possible, about how you could actually create some freedom in your life, how you could do some things that are really meaningful. And that it doesn't matter where you are, if you think you have nothing to share. We all have some problems that we've solved, some challenge, or we know somebody who has. But all this really came about because Dean listened to my stuff years ago and really applied it and grew. And one day somebody called me up, and I used to have these infomercials years ago. Anybody ever seen one of these old infomercials that I was in? A few of you maybe. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was like every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day, somewhere in North America. It was ridiculous. But what I hated was I was in infomercials. I did it because I didn't want to just go do speeches at a company for an hour. I wanted to reach people, and I wanted to bring them into my events and have multiple days where I could go deep with them. And so, long story shortened, but I hated infomercials because it was like spray on hair and fake diamonds and all these other silly things, right? But it was the only way I could reach people. And it worked, but I hated when people say, oh, aren't you that infomercial guy? I mean, I hated that. And so I tell you this because years later, I wasn't involved with that anymore. My career had grown. And a mutual friend of ours, Dean and I, both reached out to me and said, I want you to meet this guy, Dean Graziosi. And I was like, isn't that infomercial guy? The very thing I didn't want anybody to say to me, I thought of, because that's the negative association, because I'd seen a few of those. And I was like, okay, I'll meet him. And then he came to one of my events, and we went out for lunch, and we ended up extending the lunch by an extra 30, 40 minutes because I just felt he was a brother on the path. And the reason I felt a brother is nobody cares more. And this man, you have no idea what he's done to pour into this. We're partners in this, and I'm certainly contributing my part, but he obsesses. And what I love is I obsess. I mean, we don't ever take anything for granted. It doesn't matter this program's free. We're here to make sure you have an experience that's transformative if you want it, and show you how to go to the next level. So I just want to acknowledge Dean. He's become a dear friend. I've been doing this 48 years. He's been doing this 28 years. Between us, we figured this out the other day, 76 years of experience. But we give him a big hand for what he's putting on here today. He's an amazing guy. Love you, Dean. There he is. Love you, brother. Well, I know you're from all over the world, literally, and I'm glad you're here because these are interesting times. Isn't that what the Chinese call it? Interesting times. The idea of crisis is, when people feel fear and there's opportunity. And you think about the last few years, last 4 or 5 years, We went through COVID where the whole world was shut down and our whole lives were completely disrupted, and so many people lived in fear, unfortunately. And then we get out of that and we had massive inflation, at least here in the United States. Most countries did. And now we've been in a position where there's all this uncertainty. You know, we have a president some people love, some people hate. I'm an independent. I'm not here to tell you what to believe either way. But what's interesting is if you listen to the media, you think it's the end of the universe. The world is ending. When in reality, we're in pretty damn good times. Inflation just hit the lowest level in America it's had in more than 4 years. Everybody a few weeks ago was saying, oh, the stock market lost $13 trillion. The end of the universe is over. And that was like, 4 weeks ago, and it's already back higher than it was before. You know, we all have different seasons of our life. I'm sure you've been in winter at times. I sure have been. Times when it felt like, man, nothing works. Nothing's gonna work, like the dark night of the soul. Who can relate? Who's had some nights or days like this in your life, right? But the beautiful thing about life, the universe or God, however you want to call it, is it has seasons, and winter's never forever. No matter how dark it seems, as corny as it sounds, you know, it's darkest before the dawn. There's a reason phrases like that get overused, because they're true. It's like, what follows winter? Springtime, where all of a sudden everything grows and it's easier and people are optimistic and things shift. And you know, that I'm not saying that we're already in springtime as a culture, but we're certainly moving in that direction. I think we've been through some of the toughest winters we can imagine. That doesn't mean there won't be new challenges ahead. And I think if you can do well in winter, you'll do well for the rest of your life. I started my first business in this industry when I was just 17. No one showed up. It was free. I couldn't get anybody to even show up for the program. But because I started during a tough time, you know, I learned to get stronger and stronger. And you build things just a little bit at a time until you can get to something quite amazing. But I want to tell you, you know, spring is around the corner. But you don't have to wait for springtime. It could be springtime for you. You know, I live here in Palm Beach, Florida, rather. And, you know, this is wintertime right now. It's kind of beautiful. It's 78 degrees, and it's pretty awesome. So you don't have to live like everybody else, especially if you decide that you want to find something you believe in that you want to share with the world, even at a small scale, even part-time, and then grow it, because the opportunity today is unlike any other time. I remember Dean and I were together, and we both, neither one of us play golf. We play golf like once a year. We play 6 holes. We find the favorite holes to play. You know, we're not really very patient for 18 holes, he and I. And we end up talking the whole time. And we were on this golf course, and we were both talking about how much the world has changed and how grateful we are that somehow we stumbled across this idea of self-development, self-education, and that we used it and we've transformed ourselves and we've helped so many other people, and that we got to make something we love what we live for, that it's not only a career, it's our calling, and that we've done well economically, and we have freedom for our families, and we're talking back and forth and saying, you know, gosh, we help so many people. I wish we could get more people in this business, because, man, can you imagine, you know, when we started out, you know, you had to walk uphill both ways through the snow, you know what I mean, 10 miles. But it's really true. The industry was a tiny industry when I started out, especially. I mean, in order to do a seminar, I had to go, you know, write a brochure. There was no AI that could do it for me in 3 minutes and give me 20 examples and even do the visuals. I had to write the brochures over several days, and then I had to go get somebody to do the mock-up of it, and that took about a week or two and cost $1,000. And then you had to print those things, and they were at least $1.50 each. And then if you're going to send them to 20,000 people, that was going to be like $25,000, and you had to pay for the stamps, and then you had to go rent a room. And now, you know, you make a brochure like this with an AI. You know, we built our Gigi, the best of both of what we do. You're going to get to use it this week. And it's like in minutes, seconds, do things that took months. And now, you know, we don't have to spend the money to mail something. You know, it was like, what the hell are you talking about? We got email, we got text. You know, we have full motion video. We don't have to go to a facility to do it. I'm able to talk to you all around the world right now. And we got almost 1 million people here. My seminars have changed. They went to 10,000 to 20,000 people. It was the biggest you could imagine. Now my biggest seminar is like 1.3 million people I do every year for 4 days. So that's how technology has changed the game, and that's why we started creating this. And I'm proud to tell you, we've had over 250,000 people start businesses or take their business to the next level through the processes that we taught, and it's just been a dream. So I'm excited to share with you. So the question I want to answer for you, first of all, I want to ask you, how many of you already have a business and you're looking to add some digital products to it as another source of income? I'm curious. Make a little noise if you have that. Okay. How many of you out there currently are working for someone else, but you haven't made the dive yet, but you really would love to at least have a part-time income on the side of someone or want to start a new business? And how many of you are like all in? You're starting a new business right now, or you're about to and you're committed to it? I'm curious. How many of that plays? Okay, that's really great. Well, everything you want to achieve can happen, but it takes one skill. In fact, I'm writing a book on this right now. It's called The Power of Decisions. I was working on it yesterday. I wrote the first chapter. And I look at my life and I say, why am I here? And the answer is decisions, not conditions. I had pretty lousy conditions. I grew up in a really tough environment. We had no money. At times we had no money for food. But there were certain things along the way that I was fortunate enough or had the grace to decide that, God, the universe, and then I did my part too, that led me in a direction. It didn't happen overnight. This is not a let's get rich quick scheme. Like tomorrow you're going to make $10 million. It doesn't work that way. But what it does work is if you learn to do a little thing and you do it a little better, because of technology, you can scale things now. You can take something that before you were in the library trying to do for free and end up with, one of our clients has 3,000 to 5,000 people a month right now. And she was like, trying to talk to 30 people for free in the library, and very few people were listening. That's what technology can provide for us today. But the decisions were really important. So I'll just take you back for a second to give you kind of a background, if I may, and then give you the content about what decisions can change your life. Because I want to share with you, there's 3 decisions you're making every moment of your life. You're even making them right now. And as I walk you through it, you can tell me whether you think it's true or not. You'll experience it. And if you make any of these decisions slightly differently, your whole life changes. So let me tell you the background. When I was growing up, I had 4 different fathers. One day I said to my mom, I'm confused. Right? And we were totally broke. My fathers were good men, but they managed to lose their jobs, every one of them at different stages, and we had no money, and we had food stamps, so we're barely surviving. And I remember one particular Thanksgiving when I was 11 years old, this is what really changed my life, was we had no money, no food. When I say no food, we had crackers and peanut butter. When everyone else was having a Thanksgiving dinner, turkey and the whole 9 yards, it was pretty depressing. And my mom and dad were angry at each other. My mom was telling my dad what he hadn't provided for my family, and my dad was saying other things you can't take back to my mother. And I have a younger brother, younger sister, 5 and 7 years younger, and so I'm trying to keep them so they don't hear this conversation. And then what changed my life? A knock at the door. I opened the door, and this giant guy is standing there, and he's got a bag of groceries in each hand, and then he had an uncooked frozen turkey on the ground in an empty pot. And he said, is your father home? And I said, just one moment, right? And I ran to get my dad. My mom had slammed the door on him, on the bedroom door, and my dad was banging on the door, yelling at her. And I said, Dad, there's someone at the door for you. He goes, you answer it. I said, I answered it. He goes, who is it? I said, I don't know. He said, he has to talk to you. And then inside, it was like Christmas morning. I was so excited to see my father. I thought this is going to be the most beautiful day of our lives. And my dad opened the door and saw the guy, and he was not happy. And I couldn't believe it. It was like that split second he stayed angry. And my father said, we don't accept charity. And he went to slam the door on the guy. But the guy had the groceries, and he kind of leaned in, so it hit his shoulder, and the door bounced off, which made my dad even madder. And the guy said, sir, I'm just the delivery guy. He said, someone knows you're having a tough time. Everyone has tough times, and they want you to have a beautiful Thanksgiving. My father said, we don't take charity, and went to do it again. But this time, because he leaned in, his foot hit the door now too, and it bounced up and up again. And then the man, he was just the delivery guy. And the man was really nice. He didn't say this meanly, but I thought my father was going to punch him. He looked and saw me, and he said, sir, he said, please don't make your family suffer because of your ego. And I'll never forget the veins in the side of my father's neck and the rage in his. I thought he was going to punch the guy in the face. And all of a sudden, my dad's shoulders just dropped. He took the groceries, he put on the table, and he slammed the door and didn't even say thank you. I was shocked. I couldn't understand it. Why isn't he happy? I mean, there's food, for God's sakes. What a concept, right? And shortly thereafter, my father left our family. And he's the man who adopted me. I carry his last name, Robbins. He's now passed away. I love him dearly. But it was I thought, the worst day of my life. But because there was so much pain and I couldn't understand it, I obsessed about it. Like, why did he leave? What happened here? And gradually, I started to evolve an understanding. And it comes down to our life is controlled by our decisions. Think for a moment. Can you think of something you made a decision about 5 or 10 years ago? It could have been something simple, like where to go to school, or what to do for a living, where to live, who to spend time with, who to fall in love with, who to marry, whether you're going to have kids or not. How many of you can think of a decision you made 5 or 10 years ago that if you made a different decision, your life would be radically different today? I don't know better or worse, but radically different. How many can think of a decision that completely changed your life? Say aye. Right? So decisions, sometimes little ones and big ones, they create the fabric of our life. It's not the conditions we're in. And so part of what I figured out, because I obsessed about it, was that there's 3 decisions, and I want to share this with you right now because this is what controls your whole life. Whether you succeed or fail, whether you're happy or miserable, whether you have great relationships or terrible ones, whether you start a business or just talk about it and never do it, whether you succeed or fail, is really controlled by these three decisions. And you're making them right now, even as we're speaking. Now, when I say when you're making them, that doesn't mean you're making them consciously. Most of us make these same 3 decisions over and over again. That's why our life doesn't change, because we do it subconsciously, meaning it's just a habit. But if you wake up to the power of these 3 decisions, you can change everything. Now, what are they? The first decision you're making right now is, what am I going to focus on? Right now, wherever you are in the world, I'm seeing some of you, you've got backgrounds that are obviously AI. Some of you are sitting outside. I see Guy Arnold there sitting there, looks like in his living room. I see Miranda here. I'm looking over Alejandro. It's like I can see where you are. You're in different places in your life, all around the world. There's a million things you could be stimulated by. You could get focused on what happened yesterday. You could be focused on what you're going to have for lunch. You could be hearing what I'm saying. You could be thinking a million different things. Most of you are not thinking about the clothing touching your skin until I mention it, or the feeling of your heartbeat unless you focus on it. So there are millions of things we could experience in life, but we experience only what we focus on. And if you want to make a note, write down focus equals feeling. Focus equals feeling. Whatever you focus on, you will feel, make a note, even if it's not true. Focus equals feeling. And if you don't decide consciously to focus on, then your brain will just let something else control your focus. So for example, to take this for example, what's wrong is always available. You can always find something wrong with yourself, with other people, why I can't do something, why it won't work. How many would agree with me? How many can find something wrong if you want to? How many be able to do this, right? Right? On the other hand, what's right is also always available. And I'm not talking about positive thinking. I'm talking about being intelligent. Most of us let the world control our focus. Most of us let advertisers control our focus. Today, most of us let social media control our focus. Have you ever sat down, just let your brain disappear, and you start scrolling, and you wake up, and it's been 20 minutes, and you thought you were going to do this for 2? Who knows what I'm talking about here? Like, you completely waste your time. So whatever you focus on, you feel. Have you ever done this? How many of you have ever been freaked out about something, worried about something? You're focusing something, imagining it happening, and you feel all the pain right now, and you think about it over and over again, and then it never happened. Who's done this? Just focus on something, freaked out, never happened. In fact, some people, there's not something wrong in their life, so they think about crap that's happening in other people's lives and focus on that and feel worried, right? Like, we wonder why we don't feel good, right? So our focus controls us. If you think someone's trying to take advantage of you and you keep thinking about that, you're going to be stressed out. And by the way, have you ever had someone tell you something? Like, oh, so-and-so said this about you. And you went, no, they're my friend. They never did. No, they really did. But... And then after a while, you go, maybe they aren't my friend, man. I can't believe this. You feel hurt. Maybe even confronted them. How could you have said this? And then you find out It's not what they said. You're upset about something that wasn't real. Who's had an experience like this one too? A little more as you go, right? So our focus controls our life, but most of us don't control our focus. And that day, my father, I know what he focused on. I focused on there was food. What a concept, right? This is cool. His focus was he had not taken care of his family. How do I know? Because he said it over and over again. It was mumbling underneath him. Now, our focus controls our feeling, but the minute we focus on something, our brain makes the second decision, and that is, what does this mean? Our brain has to know, is this a threat? Is this an opportunity? Can I move forward or pull back? And so it gives it a meaning very quickly. Is this the end or the beginning? Is this person dissing me? Is this person challenging me? Is this person coaching me? Or is this person loving on me? If you think the person is dissing you, you're going to have a very different response than if you think they're loving you. And whatever decision you make of what things mean, it fixes and shapes how you feel. If you think this person is, trying to diss me, this person is disrespecting me, you're going to probably feel angry or hurt, right? If you think this person is coaching you, you might lean in. If you think the person is loving you, you might feel grateful. How many follow what I'm talking about here? If you get it, say I. And most of us don't control our meaning. We automatically see something, we've been trained to give it a meaning, and we have that meaning. And the media does that all the time. Media people, by the way, aren't bad. Why is so much of the media negative all the time? Why does it have the worst point of view? Because they know there's a bias in the human brain. It's a survival bias that says we respond more to fear and pain than we do to pleasure. If you doubt it, think about this. Pain, continuous pain equals damage. Continuous damage equals death. So our brain has learned to deal with that unconsciously. And pleasure makes us survive as a species. I mean, this reason it's making love and procreating is pleasurable. But if you're not sure which one's more powerful, imagine you're procreating and then something threatens your life. And notice where your attention goes, right? It's going to go to what you're afraid of. So in the media, if it leads, it bleeds is a phrase that they always use in the media. It's like, if I can jolt you, the purpose of media today is not to educate you or inform you, right? It's to jolt you, because that's what's going to make you pay attention. They get paid when you pay attention. When you click on that, that's why I have clickbait, where it's not even what it really says. Something upsets you, something excites you, something they get your attention. Well, you and I, if we don't take control of our focus, we're going to focus on what they want us to focus on. We're going to be basically their robots. So learning to take control of your own focus is critical. But the most important thing is the meaning. And the meaning for my father, I know also because he kept saying it under his breath and sometimes out loud, is, I'm worthless. I'm worthless. I didn't take care of my family. I haven't been able to pay for anything. There's not even food on the table. I might as well not be here. I'm worthless. None of this is worth any of this. And that leads to the third decision. What are you going to do? If you're really angry, you're going to do something different than if you're feeling excited, obviously. If you're feeling grateful, you're going to behave differently than if you're feeling worthless. And so my father left our family. And as I said at the time, it was the worst experience of my life. But it made me come up with some different answers. I thought, what was the meaning for me? The meaning for me when this man fed this food was that strangers care. And why is that so important? Because I grew up in a very tough environment. I thought we lived in a relatively upper middle class family, but we were on the other side of the tracks. We were the poor family, literally by the railroad tracks, where the train would come by and shake the building multiple times in the day. But honestly, it was a very low class economic place. I just don't think compared to. And we were the lowest of the low. And my father always said, no one cares about anybody else but themselves. And I believed it because it really looked like it where we lived. We were treated like crap. We were looked down on. It was rough. But on this day, my brain got new evidence. It said, somebody delivered this food for my family, and they didn't even want credit. They saved my family on Thanksgiving. They didn't want credit. Strangers do care. And that made me make a decision. I need to care about strangers. That's why I'm here today. I get emotional even today thinking about it. It changed my whole life. And by the way, I don't even know who did this. My mom thought she knew who it was, but I hope they know, because not only changed my life, because it changed my life, it changed millions of lives. And by the way, what I decided to do is, if strangers cares, I want to do this for 2 families. I'm going to pay it forward someday. When I'm older, I'm going to do it. This all happened when I was 11 years old. So when I was 17, I went out and I've had 2 families. And I was so excited, and I won't take the time to walk you through it, but it was one of the more emotional experiences of my life. I went to a family where it turned out that the father had left 3 days before Thanksgiving, and I delivered enough food for a week. They had no food, 4 little kids, and the woman there was so moved. I went as the delivery guy. I wasn't going to be thanked, but it was just, oh my God, it made me cry my eyes out. It was so beautiful. So the next year I did 4 families, then 8. Eventually I got to 100,000, then 1 million people. And then I was doing 2 million people a year through my foundation, 2 million through me. And then I was writing this book called Money Master the Game, which, by the way, I don't think about the subject. Over the years, I built up skills around money. But I went and I would call like a knowledge broker or a reporter. I went and interviewed 50 of the smartest financial people in the world: Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Carl Icahn, some of those brilliant people. And all I did was figure out what they had in common, put in this book. And Money Master the Game, by the way, is #1 New York Times bestseller, but it's also the best-selling financial book of this century. It's only 25 years into the century, but it's kind of cool. And it was all not me, it was me interviewing people. It's pretty much what we do here a lot of times. You go and you interview people, it's how you start the business. You get their insights and you share them. But the bottom line is, I found myself in a position where it's like, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. I'm gonna feed 2 families for us. Well, when I got to that point where I'm writing this book, I was interviewing all these billionaires, all self-made billionaires. Nobody from the Lucky Sperm Club, right? They didn't inherit it. They had to do it themselves. And I'd find out what they had in common. While I'm interviewing these billionaires, Congress, to save money, cut food stamps. They call it the SNAP program now. Now, I survived on them as a child. My family did. Cut it by $6 billion. This basically means every family in America that actually needs food has to give up a week of food a month unless people like you and I step up. So I called my foundation. I said, how many people have I fed in my lifetime? And I was thrilled to find out, I didn't realize that it's many. It was 42 million people. And while I was really grateful and gratified by that, I thought, man, what if I fed as many people in 1 year as I'd done in my whole life? I didn't do that on day one, right? This is after building and building and building. And then I thought, what if I did more than that? What if I had 100 million meals in a year? What if I did 100 million meals in a year for 10 straight years and fed 1 billion meals in the United States? And I'm proud to tell you, I did that in 8 years, all started from nothing, gearing that process up to make it happen. And now, today, it's a bigger problem. Usually 80 million people a year on the verge of dying. Because of the Ukraine war, this year it's 385 million people. And also, usually, we need fertilizer to grow 50% of the world's food supply, and most of it comes from Russia. And so that's been cut off. So the price of fertilizer went through the roof. So there's 11 nations right now that are on the verge of absolute famine. You'll never read about it on the news. They don't care. It's over there in Africa, right? Who cares? I care. So after I did the billion meals, I met Governor Beasley, who's the gentleman who had the UN food program. He won the Nobel Prize for it. And got together and he told me these new numbers, and I said, that's insane. A child dies every 10 seconds from a lack of food somewhere in the world. It's crazy. And here in America even, we have 30 million people that are food insecure, richest country in the world. So I said to the governor, I said, how many meals do we need over the next 10 years to fill the gap while we're getting sustainable solutions? And he said, Tony, I don't know, 50, 60, maybe even 70 billion meals. I said, what if we do a 100 billion meal challenge? I said, I did 1 billion meals, and when I started, I wasn't a billionaire, but I've been blessed by doing it for those 8 years, 10 years. And so I said, all we got to find is 99 more people like me or organizations. And I'm proud to tell you, we just hit, in our 3rd year, 60 billion meals, ladies and gentlemen, 60 billion around the world, right? Now, I tell you that because I want you to understand, the concept of compounding, that you can start with something so small, and if you just keep building it a little bit, I'll give you a little metaphor. I want you to imagine, anybody play golf out there? Any golfers out there? Like I said, Dean and I barely play golf. We play maybe 6 holes. So if I came to you and I said, hey, let's we're going to play golf. I said, you know, right before we go to the first hole, I said, just to make it more interesting, why don't we play like 10 cents a hole? And you'll say, okay, there's 18 holes, 10 cents a hole. What's that, $1.80? And then right before you swing, I say, you know, just to make it more interesting, why don't we just double it each hole? You know, the first hole's 10 cents, the next one's 20 cents, the next one's 40 cents, 80 cents. And your brain goes, okay, there's 18 holes. I don't know, that's probably $12, $15. But if you really do it, and you do it on the screen here for you, if you take this little step and you just keep increasing those little steps, this is what I did with my seminar business, right? You get to the 8th hole, after 8 holes, that's halfway through, it's only $12, right? You go to the 9th hole, now you're really halfway through, it's 25. But watch what happens as you keep building over time, because this is what happens in a business as well. It's what people don't understand. It's why they never started. It grows. Watch what happens in the last 3 holes. We go from 400, 800, 1,600, 3,000. Look at 6,000, and then we find up at 13,000. Go ahead, 100. That's what happens just doubling per hole. How many get it? Make some noise if you get what I'm saying about here. If I showed it to you on a graph, it's kind of like in the beginning of my business, it felt like nothing was happening. It's like grass growing. So here's the exact same graph. At 6 holes, keep going, go to the next one so people see. Halfway through, it looks like nothing's happening. I remember there were points where I was like, I'm working my guts out. I love what I do, but man, I'm only making a tiny amount of money. I'm working so hard, but watch what happens. This is why I've been able to do this with meals. This is the equivalent of meals, equivalent of my business, equivalent of my economics. What happens these last 5 holes? That's what happens, right? And so most people think, I want that giant thing over there. I want $1 million. I want $1 billion. I want this great business. But they never start because like, oh, I'll never get there. You know, I don't have the money to start. I don't have the time. I don't have anything to share. The mind is always looking for how to protect us from not hurting ourselves. But that survival mind's not going to make you succeed, right? You got to step outside of that. And that's how I went from feeding 2 families to 100 billion now we're on track for in less time than I even set up. So I want you to know when you see somebody like Dean or myself, it's like, okay, now I have 114 companies. We do $9 billion in business, and I have no business background, meaning no formal business background. I didn't go to Harvard. I've spoken there multiple times, but I didn't go there. I just learned how to keep increasing a little bit along the way. How many get this? How many understand what I'm talking about here? Right? So, I mean, if you want to say what changes your life, it's decisions. I remember a $35 decision that altered my entire life. I was just a kid. When I was, at home, because we were broke, I went to work, after school every day just to help pay for food. So I got a janitorial job, and I could clean banks, and they didn't pay me by the hour, they paid me for the results. So I was able to go to 2 banks, cleaning in the middle of the night, and then come home and get up and go to school. And I was able to double the income by doing it. I loved it. If you work harder and smarter, you could do it. And then I remember one day on the weekends, I was always looking to earn more money because I wanted some money that I might be able to have to go to a dance or something like that during school. And my mom one day said, hey, your dad said there's a guy that's looking for somebody to move furniture on the weekend. He said it'll play well for somebody who's got strong work ethic. And I said, I'm in. So I went to this guy's house. His name was Jim Hanna. And turned out he was buying properties and flipping them in the late 1970s, fixing them up, flipping them, and he'd save money, like he'd hire kids to do the moving, like me. And I worked my tail off. And at the end of the first day, he looked at me and he said, you have an incredible work ethic. He goes, I'm really impressed by you. I'm going to take you to lunch. So he took me to lunch and he asked me a bunch of interesting questions. And I said, can I ask you a couple of questions? Because one thing I left out is my father had said, hey, when you go see that guy, you got to find out what he does because, man, he used to be such a loser, and now he's really successful. So I'm a kid, and I said, can I ask you a question? And I wasn't trying to be cheeky. I just was being honest. And, my dad said you used to be such a loser, and now you're so successful. How'd you do that? How'd you change your life? And the guy's face changed. I thought, uh-oh, I said the wrong thing, right? But then he was really nice. He goes, your father's actually right. I was fat. I was frustrated. I was pissed off with life. I felt depressed. I was broke. I said, well, what changed you? He said, I went to this seminar by this guy named Jim Rohn. And I said, seminar? What's a seminar? I've never even heard of such a thing. And he goes, well, it's where a man takes the best of what he's learned over decades, a man who's really become successful, or a woman, and then they share with you what they've learned so they can save you a bunch of time and a bunch of pain. And in like 3 hours, they teach you like some of the best things they've learned in 20 years to accelerate your success. I said, wow. I said, that's intriguing. I said, could you get me in? He said, yeah. But then he said anything more. And I said, well, will you? And he said, no. And I said, why not? He said, well, because you won't value it if you don't pay for it. I said, no, I'll value it, I promise you. Look, I make $40 a week as a janitor. $35. By the way, that's 1977. So it'd be like, to give you an idea, $250 today, right? I mean, that's a week's pay. I said, you know, I can't just do that. You could get me in, just get me in. He goes, I won't do it. You won't take the same notes, you won't have the same thing if it's free. I said, but I don't have the money. He goes, yes, you have the money, you just don't want to spend it. I said, I can't afford to spend it, it's a week's pay. He said, okay, then don't go and learn all this on your own. Take years of trial and error, lots of pain, and maybe never get there. Or maybe take a week's pay and go learn from somebody who's already done it to save you a ton of time. You could convert decades into days, he said. I didn't make the decision that moment. I fretted about it all weekend long. I kept going back and forth in my head. And early in the next week, and then finally, it was like right before the seminar, I had to make a decision. So I did it. It was the biggest decision I thought of my whole life, right? $35, $250 basically. And it's like, I went there and it changed everything. I listened to Jim Rohn speak for just 3 hours. And I thought to myself, I'm gonna pay this guy this money for 3 hours? This is insane, but what if he's right? What if this could change everything in my life that I might never learn if I don't come to a man like this? And I sat there and I took notes like crazy and I answered the questions and people looked at me, I was so animated. And then afterwards I went up to this guy, Jim Rohn, and I said, listen, I really want to come to work for you. I want to live this stuff. I want to work this stuff. I want to do this thing. I shook his hand, I was so aggressive and intense and passionate. And he said, young man, he goes, well, I'm glad to hear that. He said, but to come to work for me, you got to invest in all my products. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I have this leadership program and this 2-day thing on time management. The whole thing was, in those days, to give you an idea, $1,200. Well, $1,200, that's about $10,000 in today's dollars. And I'm sleeping in my car because my mom kicked my dad out. She's a pretty powerful lady on Christmas Eve. She chased me out with a knife. She wasn't going to kill me, but I wasn't going back in there. And she kept my 1960 Volkswagen, earned it $40 a week as a janitor. And so I was sleeping on the top of the mountain, and then it rained, and I moved into a friend's house and took over their little garage there by their laundry, and I slept there. And that's where I started. And I said, so now I got this car, and I've been sleeping in my car, but I said, your principles are going to change my life. And I said, why don't you just loan me the money, and I'll attend your seminar, and then I'll pay it back, and then you can tell everybody what an example I am. He laughed and said, young man, I'm not your banker. He said, you know what? Everybody gets what they have to have. Some people have to succeed. Some people have to survive. Decide which one you are. And I remember walking away and I was pissed off. Like, he just wants, I'm a 17-year-old kid. I'm sleeping in my car. This guy wants to get, $1,200 from me. Think $10,000 from me? I don't have that kind of money. Is he insane? He just wants my money. And then a part of my voice kept saying, he's right, he's right, he's right. He's right what? And I kept thinking, he said, we all get what we have to have. Some have to succeed, some have to survive. And I thought, I've always gotten what I had to have, like the food I needed or cover the basic thing I need. When I had to do it, I found it. What if I just raised my standard, what I have to do? And so I did. And I went to bank after bank, and long story short, I finally got someone to loan me the money. It's a crazy example. I won't tell you all the details right now, but what I'll tell you is, I went to that seminar, man, I took notes like you can't believe. Like if you said I wrote the down, right? It's just like, I figured out every word was worth like 4 cents. I'm not missing a word. I'm not peeing, I'm doing it all, right? And there were people in the room, they could put it on the credit card, it was a piece of cake, because it was everything I had, man, I consumed it all. And I met a friend there named Mike Keys, who's still my best friend. I've known him for 45 years, one of my best buddies. And it's just been wild to see the changes. And Jim Rohn, you started a seminar telling stories about us. So all this has come from this. And by the way, my first seminar, guess how many people showed? It was free. I just wanted to share with people. I made all those brochures. I paid for ads in the newspaper, which is super expensive. I bought a room in downtown LA at the LA Hilton Hotel. And I showed up at 7 o'clock thinking I'm going to have 500 people there. And guess how many people showed up? 7. And they were spread out all around the room in different places. I'm like, why don't you all come down here to the front row, you know? But then you know what I did? I gave my all to these poor 7 people. I mean, 3 hours, I just kept going and giving everything I'd ever learned, right? And that's how I started. But then it grew, and that same little thing I just showed you, it just grew and grew and grew because I kept growing. I wouldn't stop. I kept looking for ways to make it happen. And I did something I learned from Jim Rohn. I learned to work harder on myself than my job. I learned that if I keep getting better, everything will change. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I remember I went to Jim Rohn when I finally got to know him personally a little bit, and I got a few minutes of his time, and I said, Mr. Rohn, I said, I had 4 fathers. They were all really good people. I mean, good hearts. But we were always broke. We're always looking at where our next meal is going to come from. And why did they fail so much when they were such good people? It seems so unjust. I'm telling you, they're not just because of my father, they're hardworking, good people. And he goes, Tony, that's not enough. I said, what do you mean? He said, and I kept saying, you know, like a school teacher here, I forget it was in those days, like $38,000 a year. And this hedge fund guy made $1 billion last year. That's so unfair. He said, Tony, you're right. We're all equal as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, think of it this way. He said, is it possible to make twice as much money in the same amount of time? I said, I learned to do that with my janitorial business because I went and did 2 banks. He said, okay, is it possible to make 4 times as much money? Yeah, 8 times, 10 times, 20, 100 times. I said, yeah, I guess there are people that do that. He goes, how? I said, I don't know. He goes, I'll tell you. You have to find a way to do more for others than anybody else in your industry. You have to wait. What he said is add more value. And I said, add more value? He goes, yeah, think about this. If you go to McDonald's and you start to work at McDonald's and people complain it's not a living wage, it's not supposed to be a living wage. It's supposed to be a starter job. Anyone can learn to work at McDonald's in less than an hour. So how much added value is that? And by the way, today they're getting robots. I don't know if you've seen some of them now. Some of these these fast food places are using robots. It's just begun. Because it's not that complex. It's not that valuable. So you make very little money. And he said, you're a school teacher. He goes, how many great teachers do I have? I said, I had a lot of great teachers. He goes, name them. And I could name 3. But I said, they were great teachers. They affected my life. He goes, I agree with you. He said, but there's 2 problems. Most of those teachers did not change your life. Most of those teachers work with a small number of people, and they weren't willing to take any risk. They wanted a guaranteed income, even if they did a lousy job. And that's what they have. That's why most of them don't get better. You had a few great ones. He said, I had a few too. He goes, but they went for no risk, so they got almost no reward. He goes, that guy you're making all the judgments about who made $1 billion last year, what kind of return did he give to his investors? I said, I don't know. He said, I'll tell you. He's very famous. He made 42%. In those days, people are hoping to get 5%. At 42%, you start doubling your money, not every 10, 15, 20 years. You double your money every 2.5 years. He goes, that's people's retirements. That's people's college educations. That man made $42 billion so he could make $1 billion for himself. He said, here's what I want you to remember for as long as you live. Do more for others than anybody else. Find a way to add more value than anyone else, and you'll never have to worry about your economics. And more importantly, Tony, you'll have meaning in your life because you won't be someone trying to get, you'll be someone trying to give. It completely changed my life. It shifted me. It's why I'm here today. And I just became obsessed a little bit at a time. And I wasn't skilled when I started. I'd forget everything I was supposed to say and what I was going to do. But I loved people. I was committed. I had a mission. I wanted to serve people. And I kept learning and interviewing and growing from people. And I got better and better. And that's how I got here, that little doubling to a different level. So when you see somebody who's at an extraordinary level, you might say, oh, man, they're so lucky or they're so talented. What you didn't see is what was happening behind the scenes to get them there, or how long it really took to get there for those people. And by the way, if you're thinking to yourself, like you came here this week and you're saying, okay, I don't know if I could start a business or not. Maybe I can do a little bit on the side, maybe a little side hustle. Maybe I'll do something that's fun. Maybe I'll do something that's meaningful. I'd like to earn some additional money. A lot of people are worried about inflation. And Warren Buffett has just announced his retirement, one of the greatest investors of all time. But what's really interesting is they asked Warren last year, they said, are you worried about inflation? He goes, well, yes, it's not ideal, but he said, it's not something you need to worry about. They said, what should people do to deal with inflation? He said they should make the most important investment in their life, which, by the way, when I interviewed him years ago, I said to him, what's the best investment you've ever made, the most important investment you ever made? And I thought he was going to say Coca-Cola, because I know all his investments. I study them all. Or Geico, if you know, Geico Insurance is one of his. So he goes, no, Tony. He goes, the most important investment I ever made was what you do. I said, well, I do a lot of things. What are you talking about? He goes, I went to Dale Carnegie. He said, I invested in Dale Carnegie and I learned how to communicate. Everything else that I have would be worthless if I couldn't communicate in a way where people got it. He goes, the investment in yourself is the most important investment. And just last year, in front of the big audience, he said, the most important investment is in yourself. That's how you beat inflation. He said, because number one, when you invest in yourself and you develop more skill, more ability, more understanding, you don't get taxed on that. And it keeps growing. And he said, if you keep investing in yourself, what happens is, he said, if the dollar became worthless and we had seashells, if you're the best web designer, or you're the best teacher, or you're the best lawyer, you're the best anything, if you're really adding more value, if you're the best at it, if you've developed yourself, you're going to get the most shekels. You're going to have the most of all. You have nothing to worry about. He also said one other thing. Second key to avoiding inflation and having wealth, got to have your own business. But he said very specifically, you need a business with what he calls low CapEx. That might leave some of you go, what the hell is that? All it means is some businesses, capital expenses, they have each year, if you had a business that was let's say a earth moving business, like they have in construction groups, those machines cost about $2 million. And they depreciate, meaning they break down over time. And so if inflation happens and this thing you had is super expensive and you got to replace it, now you're going to have to pay even more money for it. So you need a business that doesn't have a lot of capital expenditure. Well, there's a little industry called the information industry, the self-education industry. When Dean and I first got together to talk about this almost 7 years ago, and we said, gosh, we're going to show people how to do this. Like, well, we've had the privilege to do it. We're going to make it easy for them and save them decades. When we first did it, we realized the business at that point was $365 million a year, or excuse me, a day. Today, to give you an idea, it's $36 billion. It's $365 billion. It's $1 billion a day industry. And it grew massively during COVID, as you might guess. And guess what? Now, the latest statistics say by 2018, so we're talking a few years ahead of us, 3 years ahead of us, it'll be $1 trillion a year industry. And you know why? It takes almost nothing to get started. Anyone can do it. Not everyone's going to succeed. And if you haven't succeeded in the past, I failed a bunch of times in the beginning, it's because I didn't have a good coach. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a guide. I was trying to do it all on my own. That's a disaster. You need someone who's already done it. And I didn't have the right tools. And the tools today are insanely simple. You don't have to be complex. You don't have to be a technology guy to use them. All you got to do is ask a few questions. So the transformation has been incredible. And I'm here to tell you, like I said, we've had 250,000 people now start or take their business next level using our systems. It's pretty awesome, all over the world in 100 countries. But let me just give you like 3 quick examples. So here's an example of Basmia. Basmia's Abiel, she's from Yemen. We can put her up on the screen so people see a picture of her. In 2015, she arrived from the US and she's making $9 an hour. And she was just doing cleaning jobs to survive, which I could relate to. It's how I started. She didn't know the language. She was afraid of being scammed. She had lots of self-doubt, but she decided to take a leap of faith. And she started teaching herself through the tools we have, digital marketing and doing things of that nature. So she built a coaching business to help other people escape poverty because she's been through it herself. And to give you an idea, she's now at a point where she took that business, got it eventually to 10,000. Now it's 20,000 a month. And she has worldwide clients because of the technology we have. Give it up for Basmia, amazing commodity. Here's another another example for you. I mean, I could give you hundreds, but I'm going to give you 3 ones just to give you a breadth of people and where they were. So this is Stephen Radins. I hope I'm pronouncing this last name right. I believe I am. He transformed himself from a 12-year opiate addiction, like literally completely addicted. He had ulcers. He lost, I think he told me 40 pounds, if I remember right. And we got him involved in this. He came to one of these events, and then he learned the tools, and he started building this idea of how he got himself out of being addicted to opioids. He called it the happiness effect. And he started building the brand 1 hour a night using our GG. GG is it's our personal AI. It's basically Dean and I put together all that we've ever learned or shared. It's not like ChatGPT where you get a bunch of stuff made up that's not true. It's a closed system, right? So he used it an hour a night. It guided him until he started building programs. And now he's got hundreds of students a month that he's teaching how to get through this, overcome addiction. He's transforming people's lives. Give a big hand for Stephen, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful example, right? Really beautiful. And by the way, Stephen's such a good example, like my own life. Like, most of what I teach is not because I was so bright. Most of what I teach is I screwed something up, right? I had a problem and it drove me crazy. And then gradually I started realizing whatever problem I'm experiencing, lots of other people have too. And if I can take my mess and turn it into my message, if I can figure this out, I can not only help me, but I can help lots of other people. And now, because of the scaling of technology, millions of people. So this is another great example. This is Suzanne O'Brien. She's a former hospice nurse, and she developed this system. She was figuring out how people comfort people going through the process of dying. It's pretty intense. And she tried to teach this set of principles to her employer, and they were not interested in it. So she'd go to these libraries for free and try to get 20 or 30 people to listen for free. And her whole goal was just help people. And then we taught her these tools, and she built this online to 3,000 to 5,000 live attendees a month, ladies and gentlemen. Give her a hand for that. It's unbelievable, right? She's certified over 350,000 people now to do this, and even Buddhist monks in Thailand have learned her work because it's all online for her here. Because of the mass of this, she got a book deal. That's how I did it too, $275,000, and now she's running $1 million business from her home. Give it up for Suzanne. It's so amazing. You do what you love, right? So the opportunities are there. Now, we've been sitting for a little bit. One thing I know is if you're going to keep learning, we all get caught up in lowered energy. Like since COVID, people are kind of used to just sitting in front of our screens. So just for a second, before we go, I want to give you 3 keys to break through. And then I want to give you, let's see if we can make a decision or 2 right now today that's going to take your life next level. But to do that, we need more energy. So would you stand up just for a second? Stand up, shake your body out just for a second. Wherever you are, wake it up. Don't let yourself just sit around. Wake it up, wake it up, wake it up. Just for a second, make a sound. Make the sound you make when you're really excited about something. Make a sound of excitement, nice and loud, ladies and gentlemen. Do it again and really enjoy it. Come on, do it again. Now, shake your body out, and I want you to try something with me, a little simple game. How many of you think low energy, you feel like doing nothing? How many would agree? Say aye. High energy, you're going to follow through. So a lot of times we don't realize that we're just like sitting and we think about things. We don't do it because we're not active. When I do seminars with people, whether it be at home like this or anywhere else, especially in a stadium, we have people moving. Can you imagine? You're going to sit for 12 hours a day, but we take people 4 days and nights, 12 hours a day. People didn't want to be there, thought they're like there, and they're out of their mind because we get their body in the right place so their mind's in the right place. So just for a second, let's play a little game. Notice somebody on the screen. Stay standing if you would. Notice somebody on the screen, or if there's somebody beside you, you can point at them in the room. But if not, point at somebody on the screen and go, I own you. Go ahead, try it. No, I own you. No, I own you. Now, are there any competitive people out there? If you're competitive, make some noise. Good. Well, the word competition means, and when you compete with someone, the original Latin term is to conspire with someone. What does that mean? We compete by conspiring to make each other better. In other words, if I push you hard and we're playing basketball, I'm going to make you better. I want you to push me hard so I get better. So we'll just do something real fast with energy. Energy can change in a second if we use our body and our voice. So here's what I want to ask you to do. You're going to say, I own you, and then we're going to count down. We're going to go 1, 2. When I say 3, I'm going to ask you to take your body and jump and celebrate like a little kid. I know it sounds crazy, but not like a boring adult. Yay. But like a little kid, like, yes, and making the sounds you make, you celebrating just for 20 seconds. Who's want to try this just for a second to wake your nervous system up? Make some noise if you want to go for it. All right? So point at somebody on the screen and go, I own you, baby. No, I own you. All right, here we go. 1. Come on, wake that body up. 1, 2. On 3, use your voice, use your body. 3, go. Wake it up, wake it up. Come on. Point at somebody, go, you rock, so do I. Give them a virtual high five or a fist bump. And then grab a seat, but when you sit down like you're in a peak state, not like you're dragging. Like you're in the command chair of your life. If that feels good, make a fist and say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Now, in this energy, you're going to make different decisions than in this energy, right? And even if you're not going to stay there, if you just snap yourself that place, you're going to have more energy available. So now, real quick, because I have a little time with you today. Normally, I got like 12 hours in a day for 3 or 4 days. Got this tiny bit of time. If you understand decisions change your life, then it might be useful to think of what are some things I've done that have created a breakthrough? Like, how many of you have had something you struggled with for a period of time? You said you're going to do something, said you're going to fall through, said you're going to change it, and you didn't do it, and you disappointed yourself. Who've done this out there? Say aye. If you don't raise your hand, you lie about other things too, don't you? We've all done it. So I just want you to think about a breakthrough is maybe there's something you said you're going to do, you didn't do it, you got upset with yourself, went to go do it again, maybe you procrastinated, but eventually, who's had an experience where you eventually broke through and you just finally handled the situation and you changed it? Who can relate? Make some noise if you have. Right? So, for example, have any of you stayed in a relationship way too long? Where you knew it was wrong, it wasn't good for you, it's not good for them. Who can relate? Who's done this before? Say aye. So why do we stay? Well, we stay because we rationalize. We go, well, it was good before, it'll be good in the future, right? Until one day, when it gets so bad, your brain goes, it's been painful in the past, it's painful now, it's gonna be painful ever, I'm out of here. Who's done this before? Who knows what I'm talking about here? Say aye. So that would be a breakthrough, right? Or you said you're going to stop smoking and you didn't, and finally something pushed you over the edge. So here's what I want to know. Define for me, just put it in the chat box real fast. What do you think a breakthrough is? How would you describe a breakthrough? What is a breakthrough? Throw it up there. I'd like to see your thoughts just for a second. And don't worry about imperfect. A movement, an epiphany, a liberty, a decision. It's a self-discovery. It's a pivot. It's a moment when your life changes. It's cocaine. I don't understand that. Okay, change. Enough is enough. Okay, wow, great answers. Going by so fast now. So here's my definition. I believe, if you'll jot it down, a breakthrough is a moment in time. It's a moment in time when everything changes. Like you've been doing things a certain way, and then one day, your brain goes, not another day, not another hour, I'm done with this crap, and you change. It's the day when what was impossible becomes possible. Can you relate? Who's had a day like this? A situation where finally you hit that moment where you changed? Then here's what I want you to do. Instead of me telling you, if I tell you, you doubt it. But if you tell me, you know it's true. So I want you to answer a couple questions. I want you to write them down real fast. So here they are. First, write down something you struggled with for a while and didn't get the answer. And then finally one day, something made you break through. It could have been something in your personal life. It could have been something in your business or career life. And then the second question I have for you is, what triggered you to finally change it in that moment? Like you've been struggling for years. What made that moment different? What made that happen in that moment? You know, did you get so angry? Did you get so sad? Did you meet somebody who was a great example to you of what's possible? Right? Did you get inspired? Right? What triggered you in that moment? Did it get so damn painful you finally had to change it? And the third question I put down for you is like, okay, if that triggered it, then the third part, and they didn't break it up properly, is what made it possible for you to make that change? Because usually what makes it possible is a new belief or a new example, right? Does that make sense? Or a new emotion. Maybe, you know, you got really, really pissed off or you got really excited. So what was the area you finally broke through? I'm just going to give you 2 minutes to write it down. What's an area in your personal and professional life you struggled, you broke through? What triggered you to change that day? Was it something somebody said? Was it something you said to yourself? Was it you finally hit a threshold, not of the day, not of the moment? What was it? And then what made it last? Right? What made it last? Was it a belief that changed? Like, I can do this. If those idiots can do it, I can do it too. Right? Or was it like a new emotion? Was it a new strategy? Someone taught you a way to do it you never knew before. And like, oh my God, I can do that. That's easy. And then last question is like, how does it make your life better today? How is your life better today because of that breakthrough? So I'm just going to give you 2 minutes, put a little music in the background there for you. What's the breakthrough? What triggered it? What made it possible? And then most importantly, how is your life better today than before? Someone can put the third question up there. That'd be great. What made it possible, not what made it last. Let's just separate those two up. And write with some passion as you think about it. Like, that's pretty cool. I've struggled with this for so long. And then one day, what made me change that day, that moment, even though I tried so many times before? What pushed me over the edge? And what made it possible? Was it a new belief, a new emotion? Did I have a new strategy? Like I figured an easy way to do it or a way I thought would work? I saw a great example? How's your life better? If you got the answer, some of you are already doing it, throw it in the chat. I'd love to see. Thank you. End of a toxic relationship. It was too much pain. I finally hit the edge. I decided I'm going to change this now. I built a strong relationship with myself, and now I have a strong relationship with a woman in my life. Very nice, sir. I was at the point of exhaustion. Could no longer do it this way. I didn't care. I had to change. I was a photojournalist, and I learned that there was a new job offer, and they showed me a new way to do things that made it a new possibility for me. I was a homeless single mom, thank you, Denise, with a newborn, and that made me strong. For my child, I did it. I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, that's good. Okay. I quit enabling bad behavior. I lost 20 kilos. I got scared and saw a new example that inspired me. I found a new strategy for eating. It changed my whole life. Good job. Katrina, nice job. That's great. About a minute left, or 30 seconds to a minute left. That's it. So many great examples. I can't read them, they're going by so fast. I prayed more. I stopped what I was doing. Here we go. Made it possible in a relationship. Self-love, my mindset. I turned pain into power. Beautiful. Great job, guys. It's fantastic. I learned to speak up. I was extremely shy. The pain was so much I finally spoke up. Very nice. Beautiful. 30 seconds. Nice, nice, nice. Perfect. Okay. I'm curious. How many of you, by show of hands, if you would, a little noise if you would, how many of you, the thing that finally got you to change was enough pain? You got tired of it, frustrated, pissed off. Make some noise if pain was what you used to change. Make it nice and loud. How many of you, it was more pleasure, like you saw a new example, a new possibility? Make some noise if that's what made it happen for you. Most people wait till they get enough pain to finally push off, but then some people never get enough pain, so they don't change. What I've learned to do is how to bring pain as like a friend. And this is not going to happen anymore. I'm not going to put up with this stuff, set a new standard. But then often it's a new emotion that made it possible, or a new belief because I saw an example of someone else. That's the kind of thing that happens. But I can give you right now, for time's sake, I spent my whole life trying to take complex things and make them simple enough people actually do them. When I started my career, I made things more complex to prove to myself I was so smart. What an idiot, right? But that's what most of us do. But I learned something early on. You might want to write this phrase down. I started realizing complexity is the enemy of execution. I'll say it again. Complexity is the enemy of execution. Most people don't do things because they make it so complex in their mind, right? And it's so complex in their mind, it's like, oh, I can't even start. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to work out. Oh, that's too much. Trying to work out, man, I have to go find a place, and I'm going to have to go interview the people, and then I got to go, go try out their machines, and then they're going to have to explain to me and sell me a pitch for 6 months or years with this damn thing, and then I got to go work out, and then I got to sweat, and I got to take a shower, and then I got to get cleaned up, and I got to fix my hair, and then I got to, get the things so I get my parking validated, and I got to drive away. That's how they chunk working out. What does it take to eat? They go, you just go eat, right? So many things we don't do because of the way we chunk it in our heads. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Say I. So what I want to give you is a shortcut here. If you want to create a breakthrough, you don't just want to learn something. You want to create a real change. There's 3 things you need. They all start with S. Now I'm going to give them to you real fast in reverse order, meaning I'm going to start with the least important one. But why would I do that if it's the least important? Because it's the one everybody looks for. So what's the first thing? When things aren't the way you want, your body's not where you want, your relationship's not there, your income's not there, the first thing most people look for is a strategy. When we can think of strategy as how. Like, how do I do this? And most people think whatever the strategy is, they make it more complex than it really is. That's why they don't do anything with it. Or they say, I don't know how to do this. Write down this phrase: never let the tyranny of how stop you. Never let the tyranny of how stop me. See, I realized years ago, I don't know if you've ever done this, I set this big goal, I'm going to go do this, and I'm all excited. And then my brain would go, who are you kidding? Right? Who knows what I'm talking? Who's done this? Make some noise if you've done this in your own life, right? Right? And the reason is because your brain goes, I don't know how to do this. I've never done it before. And so the problem with starting with how or strategy is it feels like I don't know what to do, so we don't do anything. Or it feels so complex because we don't understand it because we've never done it before. When you talk about doing something you've never done before, starting a business, growing, whatever, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I'll have to go find that strategy. Even if you get the strategy, if that's all you get, you will not succeed. One of the reasons we built what we do here in our company to help people is we understood people need the best strategies. But if you don't change the other 2 things, they won't follow through. And this is why I have so much success in our lives for the people we've helped. So think of a strategy like most people from all over the world. We have people from 100 countries. But in America, we're the fastest we've ever been. 2/3 of America is overweight, 2/3. In fact, the fastest growing group in America, weight-wise, is people over 100 pounds overweight. That's the fastest growing group in America. And it's even more for men than women today, to give you an idea. It's insane. And by the way, what we've done, we're spreading around the world. You're seeing this all over the world now. Not as bad as America, but all around the world. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, to have that many people be that overweight, and people say they want to feel good. They say they want to be fit. They want to be strong. Are they not fit because they can't figure out the strategy? Because the strategy of being fit or strong or energetic is so complex that only the most intelligent people on earth can figure this out. No. Is it because it's so expensive to get your body in shape? No. Is it because only those who have the key secrets can get there? No. In fact, it's hard to miss the stuff that could change your body. It's everywhere, isn't it? I mean, how close to your home is a place where someone could train you and work you out at gym? Most people within 5 or 10 miles, right? Max, right? So we better drive there, right? So, but think about this just for a second. Think about how silly this is. Or you could get a trainer, or if you have no money, you can download 1 million programs right off the web, free programs, or you could download a book onto your iPad to guide you. Is there any lack of strategy on how to be fit and strong? Yes or no? Give me a... Hell no. It's so easy. But we don't do it because it's not the strategy usually. No, don't get me wrong. Sometimes people have the wrong strategy. If you're trying to start your own business and you don't know the things that we know because we spent 6 years between us, then yeah, you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes and you could go out of business. Most businesses don't make it. But if you know what to do, you can save yourself enormous time, enormous energy. But even with the right strategy, we found that's not enough. The real problem is you have a story if you're not getting what you want. A story, a limiting story. Like people say, I'm overweight because I'm big boned. That's what I used to say. I'm big boned. That's why I'm 38 pounds heavier. Now that was, 40 years ago, and I've never gained the weight back. I have the same bones, right? But that's what I told myself, right? It's like, I've tried everything. That's what people say. That's their story. And I say, no, if you tried everything, you'd be fit and healthy and strong. I've tried millions of approaches and none have worked. Millions? Name them. Well, I've tried thousands, name them. Well, I've tried hundreds, name them. Well, I did do these 3 stupid things that don't work over and over again. How many follow here? Make some noise if you follow me on this, ladies and gentlemen. So the story is what gets in the way of even finding the strategy. In fact, have you ever been with somebody? I'll give you an example from my youth. I remember I was sitting down or having a meal and I'm starving and my mom says to me, hey, could you get me the salt? And I'm just having my first bites of food. I'm just a kid. I'm like, I don't know where the salt is. I'm not lying. I don't know the exact GPS location of the salt, right? She goes, you know where it is. It's in the kitchen. Go get me the salt. But I don't know. Go get me the salt. And what am I saying? I don't know where the salt is. I don't know where the salt is. I don't know where the salt is. I look around, open the cupboard, look up and down. It's not here. My mom says, it's on the second shelf. I don't know where the salt is. I'm saying, I don't know where the salt is. It's not here. She walks over right in front of my face and goes, what is this? Who's had one of these experiences knows what I'm talking about. Make some noise if you know what I'm talking about. Right? So when we have a limiting belief, it creates what's called a scotoma in psychology, a blind spot. Have you ever been with somebody, they said they want your help, and you start to try to help them, and then they get mad at you? That's not going to work. It's because their story controls them. There's an old phrase that says, if you tell a lie big enough, long enough, loud enough to enough people, sooner or later people believe you. You know who said that? Goebbels, Hitler's guy who created propaganda. Hitler's idea. Now, most of us are Hitler to ourselves. We tell ourselves like, yeah, but I don't have the time. The biggest thing I used to tell myself, I don't have time. You know what I do with people on time now? I don't have time for my business. I don't have time to start something. I don't have time for anything. I know you're busy, but then I say, can I borrow your phone? And people look at me kind of funny, and if you have like an Apple phone especially, you can search down, and it shows how much time you spend on social media this day and this week and this month. Here's the numbers. Throw them up for people. These are the average. Most people check their phones an average of 58 times a day, glancing at their phone, and they spend an average of 2.5 hours a day on social media. That's 16 hours a week. That's 67 hours a month. And if you're not spending 2.5 hours, someone else is spending more, right? That's what's so crazy. You can start multiple companies on that kind of number of hours. How many follow me on this? Say aye. But when your story is, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or I have nothing to share, that's all the things that keep people. It's the limiting story. Now, you can show them the best strategy on earth, they're not going to do it. They're going to, maybe, it's like people buy a book and they never read it. It looks good on their shelf. The book has the answers, but their story is, I'm so busy, I don't have time for this now. Right? Or I'll read it later. But the real secret to changing your life is the first S, and that is the state you're in. The mental, emotional state. And this has been my expertise over the decades. What I realized was that the state I'm in controls everything. It controls my story. Have you ever been really pissed off at somebody and you're so angry that suddenly in that moment you remember everything they've ever done that ever pissed you off? Make some noise if you know what I'm talking about. Come on, if you know what I'm talking about there, ladies and gentlemen, right? Or if you're totally in love, what happens when you're in a state of total love? Who here has ever fell head over heels in love, out of your mind in love? Make some noise. Some of you look on your face, looks like it's been a while. Now, do me a favor, just for fun. Make the sound, I know it sounds weird, make the sound you make if you're totally in love, a sound that represents that. Go, make a sound of it, go ahead. Some of you, it's been a while. Let's try that again. How about if you're totally in love and in lust, you can't stop thinking about the person, you want to be with them, you want to make love to them, make that sound, go. That was much better. That was louder and it lasted longer. That's a good sign, right? So, but if you're totally in love with someone, what will you do for them? What will you do? Anything, right? It's not a trade. Well, if you do this, then I'll do that. When you get in a relationship and it starts being a trade, you're out of state. Now it's a transaction. That relationship's going down. But if you're totally in love with somebody and they go, could you take out the trash? You go, take out the trash? Of course. Whatever I can do for you. What else can I do? Right? How many know what I'm talking about here? Right? What else can I do for you? Right? But after 7 days, or 7 weeks, or 7 months, or 7 years, or 70 years, somewhere between 7 hours and 70 years, your brain goes, you go, can you take out the trash? What do I look like, your janitor? You know, I don't know what it was. You used to have so much passion. Where did it go? Your state controls your story. Your story controls whether you actually find the strategy, much less use it. Even if you have a great state of mind and you feel strong and you're driven, you know how to put yourself in that place, which is what we do, train people to do, and you come up with a true story of what's possible, and you have the right strategies, and you got a guide, you're going to win. How many follow this? Say aye. So anything in the future you want to create a breakthrough in, don't start with a strategy, because if you've never done it before, you don't know how, and you go, oh, it won't work. Start with your state, and then you'll come up. Because, by the way, when you're in love, what's wrong with life? What's wrong? Nothing. We have no money. Doesn't matter. We're in love, right? Your state controls your story, and your story determines whether you find or create the strategy, and that determines your results. So how many think you could use this in your own life? How many got an area where it might be good to change your state and your story, right? And certainly you want to do that around, if you're going to start a business, listen, I can teach you the best strategies. Between Dean and I, we know them. It's not like we're so smart. It's just we got 76 years between us, and we've become the best in the industry in the world, literally in the world. I know that sounds very humble, but it's the truth, right? Who else does events of our size and scope? No one. But it's because we figured a way to add more what? Value, do more for others than anybody else. That's the only way you really become successful. But you can start with anything. You can start with some mess you got that becomes your message, some problem you had. Or you can start like I did, be like a reporter, where I went and interviewed other people and I figured out what do they do, and then I shared what I learned from them. I wrote a little book about it, and I self-published initially. Today, though, I mean, with AI, it's ridiculous. And I don't mean ChatGPT where it makes shit up all the time. It's horrible. I remember one time I went on ChatGPT not long ago when I was there, and I was like, oh, well, my team was going to put together a new list of quotes from, leaders that have endorsed my work. And I, from Oprah Winfrey to, the best business people on the face of the earth. And so I said, well, make a list of people that endorsed Tony Robbins, and made this huge list. And one of them was Elon Musk. And I was like, I've never really worked with Elon. Wow, maybe because sometimes I don't work people directly; they learn my work. And then I found out it was totally made up. It made up a quote from Elon. It's like, I can't have that kind of crap. So you need a closed unit. It can't just be the general piece, and that's what we built. Now, to finish up, gosh, I'm almost out of time here. I think I told you what changes your life is not information, right? What creates a breakthrough is decision. Now, how do you know if it's a decision? You get yourself to act on it right away. If you make a decision, you don't act on it, you'll make a decision in the moment, but it doesn't follow through. It's like you got to decide and you got to commit to do something while you're in state, while you're feeling strong. If you don't do it, you'll say you're going to do it, later on you'll drift off. So let's make a couple decisions. And to do this, though, let's get in a strong state. Would you stand back up just for a second? Stand back up just for a second. Shake your body out. We're going to wrap up in a second. I'm going to bring you back to Dean, but I want to do one thing with you first. I'm going to show you how to, first of all, a couple of the quick decisions. I'm going to show you who's ever gotten stuck. Like it feels like, man, I just can't get myself to do this. Who's been in that place or stuck in a mad place? So we're going to do two things. We're going to answer a couple questions from peak state, make a couple decisions, and then I'm going to take you through this little 6-minute process of how to get unstuck, okay? So first, shake your body out. Make a move that makes you feel strong. Make a move. Do something with your body that makes you strong. Wake that body up out there, ladies and gentlemen. Wake it up again just for a second. Wake that body up. Wake it up. Wake it up. There's so much. Yes. All right, shake your body out, feeling nice and strong. And I know you're standing, but if you have a pen and paper, you can do this. Or first, you can just do it in your mind, and then we can write it on your computer if you want. Stand nice and strong. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Notice how it feels when you say yes. Feels pretty strong. Now, say no and see how it feels. Say no. Say no. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Which one feels better, yes or no? No feels like you're burping, right? But most of us have been trained to say no. You walk into a clothing store and someone says, "Can I help you?" What do you say? "No, I'm just looking." "No shit, you're looking. What do you want?" Right? So I want you in that kind of yes state to do this. I want you right now to think of one decision around your career, around your income, around starting a business, around whatever it is you want. And I want you to decide something you want to achieve in the next 6 to 12 months, 18 months max. It could be a certain amount of money you want to earn. It could be having a certain number of clients. It could be starting a business and starting to grow it. Any target you want. But I want to pick something that feels strong and would excite you. Now, not something like, I'm going to make $1 billion and you haven't made $1 million, right? Might want to start a little less. But in the next 6, 12, 18 months, if you really focused and you had a great coach and you had great tools that could accelerate things massively, what would you ideally achieve? Would you have a business on the side here that produced a certain amount of income? Would you do something full time and you'd be excited about it? Who would you touch? What kind of impact would you have? Just think what that is. How many can think of a goal that would excite you, that you know if you worked your tail off would be achievable and would excite you? Raise your hand if you got one you can think of. Okay? Stay standing if you would. Write it down or type it down on your computer, but I want you to stay standing because you stay in a strong place. So just write it down. What's that goal for your business? Something you want to achieve, something you want to accomplish in the next 6, 12, or 18 months? Something that would excite you. Something that would get you up early and keep you up late for that. Like my teacher, Jim Rohn, used to say, your goals affect you, whatever they are. If your goal is to just get by, that's all you're going to do. If your goal is to transform your kids' lives, that's different. Your goal is to make X amount of money. Whatever it is, it affects you. So let's come up with one that excites you. One that's truly achievable if you busted your tail, but also would excite you. You'd feel proud of yourself. You'd feel grateful. And then I want you to put the second thing I want you to do is write down, why is it a must for you? Because most people set a goal and it's a should. Like, I'd like to do this. I want to do this. But as Jim Rohn taught me, everybody gets what they have to have. Why is this a have to for you? Why is it a must for you? If you achieve this in the next 6, 12, 18 months, how will it change your life? How much more freedom would you have? How much more joy? How much autonomy to do things your way? What would you be able to do for your friends or your kids or your family? What would be fun? What would you be proud of? Why is it a must for you to follow through, not just a should for you to get this goal? One thing my teacher Jim Rohn taught me years ago is that reasons come first, answers come second. If you get strong enough reasons to do anything, then you can get yourself to figure out how to do it. You need a big enough why, and you'll figure out how. And then the third question real quick is this, Like, what's kept you from changing or doing this in the past? What's held you back? Has it been a limiting belief? Has it been a bad habit? Has it been just putting it off, procrastinating? And what do you need to change right now? What's kept you from doing this in the past? What belief, what old habit, what limit? What needs to change right now? What needs to change now? That if you changed it, you get new momentum. All right? New momentum, be fantastic. You feel great. Feel that. And once you got what happened that stopped you and what you're going to do different, then write down the last step. I know I'm doing this fast. What's one or two actions you could take right away, like today, tomorrow, this week, tonight, that would start moving you forward? Because remember I said if you make a decision, you set a goal, while you're in the state, you got to do something that commits you to follow through. Is there someone you can call? Is there a meeting you could set? Is there a class you can enroll in? Is there a friend you need to sit down with? Like, what's something you could do right away that would be just a small step, but by doing it, it means you're on the path. Your brain knows you mean it. I'm going to make this happen. Is it brainstorming the start of your company? What is it? What is that one or two things to get you going? Just to get going, get some initial momentum. You know, I often tell people, we've all seen the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and I don't just mean money. Do you ever notice that happy people tend to get more happy, angry people get more angry, sad people get more sad? That's called momentum. You change your momentum, and what's hard to do is easy. All right? How many of you got a good goal? You know why it's a must for you? You know what needs to change? You got some good actions. Make some noise if you got that. Good. We got about another 30 seconds. Keep it going, and make it feel good in your body. Make it feel strong in your body when you think about it. And then think about that goal and what it's going to be like. Think about what you'll be able to achieve in 6, 12, 18 months. Think about how that's going to feel. And think about how it's going to feel even taking this initial action to get it going. And just about 20 more seconds, and then we're going to, just in our bodies, we're going to train our nervous system, going to celebrate like it already happened. I know it sounds silly, but that's how you connect your brain to go, I really want this. All right? Finish up. And then when I say now, we're going to go 3, 2, 1, and I want you out loud, celebrate. I want you to imagine you achieved this. It's even better than you imagined, and you're celebrating like it's already done. Ready? 3, 2, 1, celebrate your body like you just achieved this thing, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, celebrate your body, make it happen. That's it, come on. Now, stay standing for a moment, shake your body out, make a move that makes you feel strong. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Now, in this state, I want to give you one last thing. I'm out of time here, but I want to give you a tool, because how many have ever gotten stuck? You start doing something, you miss it. Who's gotten stuck? Or have you ever done this? Have you ever overreacted to something, like to your kid or somebody else, and you overreact to the situation? It's not a good situation, but you overreact and you feel bad about it. Who's done this before knows what I'm talking about, right? The reason you overreact is you're not reacting to this moment. You're reacting to the fact that it happened again. You know what I mean? I call it stacking or flooding. Most people have stacked all their failures or all the times they didn't follow through. And if you do it over and over again, you literally feel overwhelmed. Or if you get stuck, you're thinking of all the things you screwed up, one after another after another. But you know, you can also stack the positive and change your entire biochemistry in a couple of minutes. In fact, let me show you real fast. There's a group called Heart Math you may have heard of. It's pretty rare, most people know. Anybody heard of Heart Math out there? A few of you? A couple of you maybe. And so they got nominated for a Nobel Prize for an insight they had. You know, we can measure the brain waves, the activity in your brain and the activity in your heart electronically. You've been to a hospital, I'm sure you've seen an EKG and an EGG. Those measure the electrical impulses. So watch this on the screen. This is a real person. When a person is in a frustrated state, overwhelmed state, you'll notice the red is the heart waves, the blue is the brain waves. And you'll notice there's no relationship. They're all over the place. In these states of frustration, people tend to get sometimes in car accidents. If they're in a relationship, they say stuff that once you say it, it's hard to take back, messes things up, right? It's not a good state to be in. But you can go from that state. This is a real person we're showing the graph on. This is a person who spent 2 minutes focusing on their heart. What I mean by focus is if you imagine focusing on your breathing and you put your hands on your heart, your focus is on your heart. Where focus goes, energy flows. And if you see here, this is that same person focusing on their heart, and then this is what we're going to do in a moment. They're thinking of 3 things they really felt grateful for, or they appreciated, or they felt loved with. And when they do that for 3 minutes, the heart resets the brain and they align. And you'll see on this graph here, they literally look like they're unified, and that's what's called a flow state. How many of you have ever been in a state where you couldn't remember your own cell phone number or how to spell a difficult word like the, right? Who knows what I'm talking about here? Make some noise if you've ever had that, right? I call that a stupid state, right? But then you move around and you remember, don't you? Well, how many have ever gotten a state where things just flowed for you, where you didn't have to think about it? You're like playing a game like tennis and swung perfectly. You're talking and it just flowed out of you, where you did better than you've ever done, where you impressed yourself. You're like, I did that. That was me, right? Who's done this? Who's ever done that? Impressed yourself. Done really well, right? Well, when your heart and brain are unified, it produces that flow state. So let's try it real fast. I'm going to show you how to get rid of a negative that's stressing you out. So here's what we're going to do real fast. I want you right now to think of some unfinished business in your life. When I say unfinished business, I mean, how many of you have something in your life that you need to do, but you got so much going on in your life, it's too stressful to even think about it, you just keep putting it off. It may be somebody got a fire in your business, it might be something you got to deal with your kid or in your relationship, or maybe something within yourself. But it's to think about it is just too much, too stressful, so you put it off. Who can think of something like that in your life, some unfinished business? Raise your hand if you got that, so I know you got some there, right? Awesome. Here's what I want you to do. Just for a moment, if you were to focus on what you're not doing in that area and how stressful it is, if you really to feel it, right now you feel pretty good, but if you really focus on it, how much stress would it prove 0 to 10? 10 is stressed out completely, 0 is no stress. Give it a number. And ideally, think of something that was at least a 7, 8, 9, or a 10, at least a 7, 8, or 9, because if it's a 1 of stress and we change it, you'll barely notice. How many can think of something that needs to be dealt with, but if you really focus on it, makes stress in the 7, 8, 9 range? Make some noise, you got that. Okay? I want you to let go of it just for a moment, and we're just going to do this for 2 minutes, all right? I want you to take both your hands, put them on your heart, physically touch your heart. And then I'd like, if you would, ideally standing, because when you're sitting, you cut off half your energy. So if you're sitting, I'd encourage you to stand up if you would. Touch your heart with both your hands. Close your eyes if you want. And breathe deeply into your heart, where you feel like the blood with every breath flowing into your heart, where you can feel the strength of your heart, where you can feel the power of your heart. That's it. And as you breathe deeply in your heart, think about the fact that how do we know when we're alive in our mother's womb? We know it because there's a heartbeat, right? When the heart starts beating, that's when you're given the gift of life. You know what's amazing? You didn't have to prove you were worthy of life, did you? You didn't have to achieve anything. Something loved you enough to give the gift of life, and it comes in the form of a beating heart. When the heart stops beating, life on this planet ends. So breathe in your heart, touch your heart, and pour gratitude into your heart that works 24 hours a day, whether you give it love or not, whether you notice or not. It works when you're sleeping. It pumps literally through 60,000 miles of blood vessels that are inside you. It beats 100,000 times a day. Your heart has power. So as you focus on your heart and your gratitude for your heart, I'm now going to ask you to think of 3 moments in your life, any moment at all that you felt really grateful for. But the way I want you to think about it is not If I said, have you ever been on a roller coaster? And you go, oh yeah, I remember that. And you imagine yourself in the distance, seeing yourself on a roller coaster. That's not what I want. I want you to imagine you're going over the front edge. But in this case, it's moments you were grateful. So think of a moment now. One moment, it could have been when you're a kid, it could be today, it could be 10 years ago, it could be 10 minutes ago. Think of a moment you could feel really grateful for. Could be the birth of a child, the meeting of a dear friend, or the meeting of the love of your life. It could have been a moment you were proud of yourself, you achieved. Pick a great moment you're grateful for and step in your body like you're there, like literally you're back in your body looking at your own eyes in the moment you were so grateful. And you're seeing what you saw then. Breathe the way you were breathing when you felt so grateful in that moment. That's it. Hear what you heard, either what someone said to you or what you thought in your own head when you felt so grateful, so appreciative. And what's the look on your face when you're filled with gratitude, or joy, or love? Breathe that way, feel that way, fill up like every cell and nerve in your body is filled with the grace of that moment. You're doing great. Perfect, perfect. Just breathe it, feel it, enjoy that memory like you're there, feeling your body filled up with gratitude. Why gratitude? Because the two emotions that mess us up are fear and anger. Fear is why we don't do things. Anger is what messes up things. But you can't be fearful and grateful simultaneously. You can't be angry and grateful simultaneously. That's why we're using gratitude. Breathe in and feel that moment like you're filling up with so much gratitude, flooding your body with it. Now think of a second moment you could feel grateful for. Let's stack it. What's another moment you could feel so grateful for if you wanted to? It could be a little moment or a big moment. I was proud and grateful. I was one of the 10 Lords of Leaping in the first grade Christmas play. I felt grateful and proud when I was working with the President of the United States at Camp David. It could be a little thing, it could be a big thing. Step in and feel another moment of such gratitude, such grace, or such love. Feel it. Live it like you're there. Beautiful. Beautiful. Fill up your whole body with that energy, that feeling of gratitude for grace of that moment. And then do one more. Think one third moment. It could be a little one or a big one, long ago or recently. Another moment you could feel really grateful for if you wanted to. Step in that moment right now. Feel it. Feel it. Breathe it. Enjoy it. Feel like you're there. See what you saw through your own eyes like you're there. Hear what you heard or what you said to yourself. Breathe where you're breathing when you're filled with gratitude, joy, love, appreciation. As you feel that now, just feel all three of those moments exploding in your body, filling every cell, every nerve in your body with gratitude, appreciation, or joy. And now just for a second, with your eyes closed, take your right hand and reach out as if you're grabbing a moment, another moment from your life. Take a moment you were proud of yourself. Some people are afraid to be proud. I don't mean ego proud, fake pride when you didn't do something. We've all done things at times that are hard, and we're proud we did. Take a moment you were proud of yourself, a little one, bring it to your heart and say yes as it touches your heart. That's it. And feel that like you're living it again. And then we're going to do a bunch of these real quick. Reach out and grab another moment in your life that you felt proud or you achieved something small or big, but you, 10 Lords of Leaping, that felt cool. Bring that in and go, yes. Now reach out and think of a beautiful time with family or friends that you cherish. A beautiful moment with family or friends. Bring that in, yes, on top of the other one. And bring in another beautiful moment with family or friends and go, yes. Now bring in a moment that made you laugh out loud. You ever laugh so hard that whatever you're drinking, milk, whatever, exploded out of your nose because you were laughing, right? Did you ever laugh so hard you coughed? Think of some time when something so stupid happened, either something you did that was so stupid or silly or someone else did where you just laughed out loud. Grab that moment, bring it in, yes. And feel that huge laughter or smile inside you. Grab another funny moment, a crazy moment, yes. Reach out and grab a romantic moment or a sexy moment or a sensual moment. Or if you've never had one, make one up and go, yes. Think of another romantic moment, bring it in and go, yes. Now try this. Take a moment from your future as if God was giving you a trailer of the movie of your future. Find a moment in the future you're going to be proud of yourself. And bring that in your heart and go, yes, and feel it like it's happening. Think of another moment in the future you're going to be proud of yourself. You're going to achieve something that feels good. Bring it in and go, yes. Think of an exciting moment for your future, something that's going to excite you. Bring it in and go, yes. Think of a romantic or sexy moment in your future. Bring it in and go, yes. Bring in a laughter moment for your future and go, yes. Now, for 10 seconds, bring in any moment you want from the past or the future. Just go, yes, bring in yes. Any good moment, like stacking great moments. Yes, yes, yes. Keep going. You got 10 seconds. Go, 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 go. That's it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. That's it. That's it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Now, make the sound out loud of what your life feels like. Explode with sound. What does it feel like? Make a sound of what it feels like. Of some things you've not thought about for a long time that are beautiful. Make some noise if you thought of it. Now, by the way, before I leave you, let's use it real fast, not just to feel good in this moment. By the way, if you stack enough of these things, you might feel good 10 hours from now, 7 hours from now. If you stack the negative, you won't even know why you're pissed off all the time. And that's what we do most days. We stack the negative. We see the news, all comes at us. Your job is take back control. Who likes this feeling inside your body here? Say, ah. So now, touch your heart again, breathe, just to finish, breathe. Feel that great energy inside you. And while you're doing it, think of the thing that used to stress you so much. But don't go into your head, stay in your heart and finish this sentence. The thing that was so stressful, that unfinished business, I want you to breathe in your heart, feel all these great feelings, and just finish this sentence from your heart. All that stressful thing that used to stress me so much, all I need to remember, all I need to focus on, all I really need to do is what? And then first answer comes from your heart. That's the answer. Breathe in your heart around the thing that used to stress me. All I need to remember, all I need to focus on, all I really need to do in that situation is what? And your heart has the answer now because your brain and heart are unified. One more time. All I need to remember about that situation, all I need to focus on, all I need to do is what? Raise your right hand nice and high if you already have the answer from your heart. If you know what you need to do to get out of that stress from now on. Awesome. Give everybody a hand. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be able to share with you. Thank you so much. God bless you all, everybody. I'll see you in 3 days. I'll see you in 3 days. Pass it about to you, dude. Love you, brother.